guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena with Rob and Griff. I'm Griffin Senek, joined by my co-host, Rob Goldberger, and we're back once again. This week, going to be a lot more to cover. We're going to be touching a lot more on the MLB offseason, as it has really picked up in recent days with the impending lockout that is expected to occur on, I believe, December 2nd or so, December 1st, December 2nd. So we've seen a lot of players start to sign last night. We're filming this on Saturday. Last night, the New York Mets went and signed 3 guys. So they're obviously in the forefront of the news, but a lot to cover. We're going to be doing some predictions. But yeah, I guess we'll start with the New York Mets. Obviously, last night they inked 3 veteran players, Edwardo Escobar to a 2-year, $20 million deal. Mark Canha, 2 years, I believe $24 million or so. And then obviously the big name out of the 3, Starling Martin, 4 years, $78 million. Obviously, 3 big moves for the Mets, who are, a team with coming off an extremely disappointing season. As a fan, it was extremely disappointing. They held first place for a while, just couldn't get it done in the end. So 3 moves for 3 solid veteran players. What are your thoughts initially on these deals, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I think this day is a total victory for Mets fans because, it just goes to show they are serious about competing, I think. And I really like the first 2 signings of the day. I thought they were really, I know $14 million a year almost for both, but still, I think it's really good value. And then Starling Martin, Griff and I were just talking about it before the pod started, actually. But I mean, we know he's a really good player. It's just that 4-year number is sort of a little bit of a concern from a player who is already 33 years old. And we know, I mean, he had 47 stolen bases last year, something like that.
47, yeah.
Which is an insane number, but we'll see. I just don't know about 4 years for a player. I just said it before the pod, whose game is so reliant on speed. But I mean, it was a good day for the Mets. I think Canha and Escobar, really good signings. But yeah. What are your thoughts as a fan, Griffin? I'm interested to hear.
I mean, obviously, I love it because it's like, I think especially, this week we saw Steven Matz sign with the Cardinals, and we saw Steve Cohen go out on Twitter and was kind of in an outrage about how the whole situation was handled. It seems like the Mets thought they'd have a chance to match, and they didn't really get that chance and whatnot. So I think it really shows that, Cohen is serious about spending, and I think he proved that. I mean, he almost gave out, I think it was like $120 million or so in contracts yesterday. So clearly he's serious, and I know we're having a bit of lag, so I don't know if you can hear me, but
I'm good.
You're good? Okay, yeah. Sounds good. I think I'll start with Edwardo Escobar. I mean, this is a guy who, over the last few years, he's a power guy, and he's got versatility in the infield. He can play 3 positions in the infield. And I think that's key. I mean, he's a big league player. He's going to, he's not some flashy superstar, but he's a solid player. And, if he's your best player, yeah, that's a problem, like he was on the Diamondbacks. But on the Mets, I mean, he's going to slide in as, kind of just another guy in that lineup. And I think he's, good. We've heard a lot of good things about him in the clubhouse. Mark Canha, one of the better on-base percentage guys in the league. He gets on base, not a great defensive outfielder, but, another good veteran player. And lastly, Starling Martin. I mean, this Mets team has really never had a center fielder. They've kind of been, platooning Nimmo out there, and he's not a center fielder. He's a corner outfielder, so he'll get to return to the corners. And Starling Martin, who a guy, he is, getting up there in age. Like we said, the 4 years, obviously not ideal, but I think that's unfortunately what you kind of had to give him. And that's what, to land these bigger free agents, you're going to have to, at this point, accept deals where they're going to be, getting paid in their, not prime years, in their later years. So, I think it's a good move. And the Mets, a team that really has never stolen too many bases besides, the Jose Reyes days. This will give them a guy at the top of the order who's going to hit for average, and he's going to steal bases. And that is huge for this New York Mets team. Totally changes the complexity of the lineup in my mind. So I think overall, like you said, it's a big win for the Mets. I don't think they're done. I mean, I've already seen today a lot of Kevin Gausman buzz. Seems like he might end up signing today. So I don't know when this podcast will be out, but maybe he will be. I've heard the Mets, I've heard the Mariners, Giants still in it. But that would be another great addition. We're going to touch on Gausman amongst many names of free agents for our predictions here in a second. But yeah, I think overall good day for the Mets, and was happy to see. I mean, Marte was highly coveted. You heard a lot of teams. The Phillies were one of them in on him. So I think it's good also for the Mets to, snag him from, potentially going to a division rival and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right. So with that, we are going to do this. We've not prepared this at all. So this is totally off the top of our heads. And
yeah,
we might be forgetting teams, but this is going to be totally off the top of our heads. I've got a list of, I believe, 16 or so free agents right now who are currently on the market that we're going to predict. And we're going to start with, I think, the consensus best free agent on the market, Carlos Correa. Had a fantastic year for Houston this year. Rob, where do you see him ending up?
Well, I think it definitely depends on how this whole Javi Baez situation shakes out. But yeah, I mean, based off that, you'll know what team I'm going to say. I think I'm going to say the Detroit Tigers here. I mean, they're going to give him a lot of money, and I think they're just going to give him the most money. Man, I mean, what can I say? I'll go with the Detroit Tigers for Carlos Correa.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some reports that the Tigers are not willing to go over 300 million. And I think, that Lindor deal that the Met, it was a bad deal. I mean, I'm just going to put that out there immediately. But, I think that deal kind of is setting the market for these shortstops. I mean, I've heard Javi Baez won 6-year, $200 million. I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah.
It's kind of comical when you think about that.
By the way, I do want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
If this Tigers bias thing does get done, though, I'll say the Yankees.
The Yankees. That's interesting. I mean, I think the Mets. I mean, I'm not going to spoil my bias pick, but I think we're in kind of agreement on where we are. I'm going to also pick the Detroit Tigers. I just think that AJ Hinch connection. I mean, it seems like they have a really strong bond. I think they want to compete. They want to get a big guy, and I think it's just the perfect fit. And I think in the end, they're just going to be able to, even if they say, yeah, we don't want to go over 300 million, that's just negotiating tactics. At the end of the day, if their hand is forced, I think they're going to land them. I think it's a good fit. I just don't see the Yankees paying up for that from the reports I've seen. I mean, they look like they want to go after a guy like Anthony Rizzo. They've been very quiet, though. The New York Yankees, I mean, that's a wild card exit. They need to improve as well. So I'm a little surprised we haven't heard a little more Yankees. But that always kind of means something's brewing for them, it seems like. But I'm going to go Carlos Correa to the Tigers. I feel like that's kind of the safe pick.
Yeah.
All right. Next on the list, Cory Seeger.
That means he's definitely not going to Detroit, right?
Oh, yeah. He'll be on the Yankees, or he'll go to the Braves or something stupid.
Yeah.
Cory Seeger, what are we thinking?
I'll let you take this one first, Griffin. I'll let you take this one first. I think.
This one's tough. You know what? I'm going to go with the New York Yankees on this one. I think they're going to go and land one of these guys. I think the shortstop market, I think there's too many of these guys for these guys all to get $300 million. I mean, I think we're going to see these kind of guys get screwed, to be honest. I think Cory Seeger, his price, he's a great player. I think the Dodgers have got to be up there as well with Cory Seeger in terms of who's competing for him. But I'm going to go with the Yankees. I think they want to land one of these shortstops. I think Seager's a good fit, another lefty bat for that lineup with obviously the short porch there. And I just think with all these shortstops, I think Correa will be the highest paid, but these other guys, I mean, Trevor Story, Javi Baez, Marcus Simeon's a second shortstop, whatever you want to call him. These guys aren't going to all get paid. So I think Cory Seager, his price, he's an elite player, but I think the Yankees will be able to get him at a price they're comfortable with. So I'm going to go with the New York Yankees.
It's been a name that hasn't been tossed around in a while. And then, God, I'm between two teams here, Griffin, and I have been the whole time. But I really don't want to pick the same thing as you, but I'm so confident he's going to go there. So I'm going to say the New York Yankees as well. Another team, I think the Texas Rangers maybe.
Yeah,
I think Texas Rangers definitely have a shot at signing him. I think, I don't know, but I'll say the Yankees too. I'm 99% sure he's going to go there.
Yeah, seems like a good fit. Next name on the list, Chris Bryant. One of the more interesting free agents, obviously a Scott Boras client, so I don't expect him to sign before the Is that what you're going with, Chris Bryant?
He's a Philly. Yeah, Chris Bryant's a Philly. I mean, I think it's clear. No bias involved at all.
Oh, this one's tough for me. I think the deal's going to be interesting. I mean, he kind of has shown signs of regressing in that second half of the Giants. He really wasn't too good for them. I don't think the Giants will keep him. I mean, if I'm going around the league thinking about what teams really could use this guy that are trying to make a move, you know what? This one's a tough one. This one is a tough one. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if there's a perfect fit for this guy. You know what? I'm going to go Do I go that? No, I don't think that. Screw it. I'm going to go the Boston Red Sox is who I'm going to go with for
Wow.
Chris Bryant. I
All
think
right.
it's a good fit. He can play a lot of positions. They have the DH, obviously, so you can move guys around. I think he'd fit in pretty well for that team. I think they want to go out and make a splash. I don't know. I just kind of have a weird feeling he can replace Schwarber in that lineup. I'm going to go with Chris Bryant to the Red Sox. All right, the next name on the list, Max Scherzer. We've heard a lot of chatter about him, entering his age 37 season. Really does not seem like he wants to go to the Mets. I've heard a lot of Mets really want him, but he just hates the Mets. I hate him, but I guess I could grow to love him. What is your thoughts on that, Max Scherzer?
I think he'll resign there in Los Angeles. I think probably is that Trevor Bauer money free yet, or when is that like scheduled?
I don't think so.
I mean, is it going to be freed up, or I mean, obviously that plays a factor, but it really seems like he wants to go back there. It didn't even seem like that during as soon as he got there. I mean, there were reports that he really wanted to stay. So, yeah, I think he really likes in Los Angeles, and I think he wants to win another World Series. And I guess smartly, he's going to deem Los Angeles as the place where he has the best chance to do so. Yeah, I'll say he's going to resign Los Angeles.
Oh, this is another one where it's kind of weird. I'm not going to pick the Dodgers because I think I'm going to have the Dodgers paying money to another starter. I think this comes down to a case of who wants to pay, who wants to win right now. God, this one's tough too. The Dodgers are a very good fit. Who could I see signing this team? I just don't see like do the Padres go and get him? I don't think so.
Could just take the easy way out and say he's going to resign.
I could, but I just don't feel like, I'm going to go with the Dodgers. I think it's just, I just can't see another team right now. If he doesn't want to accept the deal from like the New York Mets, because I think the Mets would be the team that will probably give him maybe the highest deal. I think from what I've seen, the reports from the Mets beat reporters, I mean, it seems like Steve Cohen loves him. I really feel that the New York Mets would probably give him the highest AAV, but I just think he really prefers the West Coast. I think the Dodgers give him a good chance to win.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Dodgers. I just can't see, like, I'm going through those other West Coast teams. I don't think the Giants are going to overpay. The Padres really aren't in the spot to give him $40 million or something crazy. Dodgers, it just seems like are the likely fit. All right, next team on the list, Trevor Story. This one's a bit interesting. Honestly, not sure. So what are you thinking with this one?
Not sure. I'm not sure. I think let's.
I have a team if you want me to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll let you go first.
I'm going to go with your Philadelphia Phillies. I think this is going to be the Phillies' bigger move of the offseason. I think they need a shortstop desperately, which is why I think they're kind of a better fit than Chris Bryant, or he's a better fit than Chris Bryant. Not a bad defender at all. I think in the middle of that infield kind of gives them their guy. I think he'll be in the better price range for them too. He's not going to be demanding as much money as a Seager or a Correa. So I just think Trevor Story is a really good fit for the Philadelphia Phillies. So I'm going to go with T Story to your Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, there was a report about him coming here earlier today too. Larry said we were going to get Chris Bryant, but Jesus Christ. I think he's going to come to Philly. And I do, but I don't think the ownership is not good enough to shell out money on both of those players. So
if you want to change Bryant, I'll let you, but
yeah, let me come back to Brian at the end, and I'll say Story is going to go to the Phillies for now.
Okay. I just think Story in the Phillies is just because I think with Brian, it's like they have Alec Boehm, who's but like I just feel like they need a shortstop, All right, the next name on the list, Marcus Semien, kind of an interesting name. Had a fantastic year, MVP caliber season. Really interested to see where he goes in his age 31 season. Honestly, if Javi Baez doesn't work out, I'd love him for the Mets. But what do you think about this one?
This is hard to do off the top of your head, man, isn't it?
I know.
Jesus. Oh, oh my
I would
goodness.
say Seattle's a great fit, but they just traded for Adam Frazier, so I
Yeah,
think
they
that's kind of
did.
takes
Well,
them out of
literally,
it.
yeah, they did literally like 3 hours ago, right?
Yep.
Oh my God. This is like breaking my brain.
I can go first on this one. I think he's going to stay in Toronto. I just can't really see him leaving. It just worked out so well there, and I think the Blue Jays really want to keep him. I think him and Robby Ray. I think Simeon they'll be able to re-sign. I just don't think the market for second base is that. I think it's a tough market. I don't think people are willing to shell out all this money when there's a ton of premier shortstops on there. Simeon is 31, so he's kind of the older one. So I think that kind of love that the Blue Jays have for him, I just think it's going to result in them paying up the most money. So I'm going to go Toronto with Marcus Simeon. I just think it makes the most sense.
I'll go with the New York Yankees here, actually.
So they go for Simeon and Seager.
I mean, didn't they, how much money did they commit to sign to, how much money did they commit this? I mean, what did Steinbrenner say for this offseason? Did he did he give like a
I don't know
statement?
if he said I saw that I don't think they'll shell out $300 million for a shortstop, but
I don't know. I think Simeon and the Yankees is like a really good fit though, don't you think? But yeah,
I mean, they do with DJ LeMahieu, so
They
they could trade some guys.
They do, and there's also been who was talking about it on MLB Network earlier. They were talking about Simeon and the Yankees. Simeon's representatives in the Yankees.
I think it could work. I don't think that's a bad take.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll go with him in the Yankees. I'll go with him in the Yankees.
Okay. Next name on the list, Robby Ray, the AL Cy Young winner. Obviously, very good season. What age season is he current? Age 30. So, I mean, very good year, 2.84 ERA, a lot of strikeouts. What are your thoughts on Robby Ray?
God, I just hate fucking saying the Yankees. It's just like I always want to say the Yankees, and it's like because they're such a cop out. How about the Los Angeles Angels? I'll go with here. I think how long have they needed starting pitching for? A while, and they've got
life.
no matter their deficiencies on other areas of the field. You have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. You got to go for it now. It's just how it is, especially since we know they're going to take this into account. Trout's injury history might catch up with them. I think they got to go all in now, and I think they might shell out a lot of money on starting pitching this offseason, starting with Robby Ray. So yeah, I'll go with the Angels here.
I'm going to go with the Angels too. I just think that's a perfect fit. I think starting pitching is just what they need. That lineup is kind of set, honestly. You've got David Fletcher, you've got Mike Trout, you've got Ohtani, you've got Anthony Rendon, who, bad year, but yeah. But I think Robby Ray is the perfect fit. For that rotation. I think he's going to get a lot of money potentially. I think the Blue Jays obviously want him, but I just don't see them retaining him and Simeon, and they just extended Barrios. So I feel like already Hinge and Ryu's there. I mean, that's just so much money in that starting rotation. So I'm going to go with the Angels. I agree. I think it's a good fit in this team. I think they want to win. I think they want to go for it. So I think they're not going to hesitate to shell out, especially with Syndergaard on a 1-year deal. I mean, that's essentially $20 million. If you go, let's say they blow past the tax this year, $20 million comes off next year. So I like it. They'll go for it. I'm going to go with the Angels. I agree with you on this one.
All right.
Next one, Javi Baez. I'm going to go first. I think he'll be retained by the New York Mets. I just think it's kind of, it just seems like a good fit. Steve Cohen really, really liked him from the reports that have come out. And it seems like the Mets may get that chance to match that last offer. So I think that 6,200, if he gets that somewhere, good riddance. I do not think that is, if the New York Mets pay that kind of money for him, I will be very frustrated. But I think he's going to come down. I think he reportedly wants to sign before the collective CBA or whatever, the lockout, whatever this crap is called. So I think he'll end up with the Mets. I just think it's the fit to be. I think, he'll play next to Lindor, and I think that infield for the Mets at that point, if they retain Baez, that lineup is set for the season, ready to go.
I'll go with the Detroit Tigers here.
So they go Correa and Baez.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, I think they're going to spend a ton of money this offseason.
Okay.
I mean, Don't you think they would be the team to give him that 6,200 though?
I mean, yes, but then I think they'll go for one. I feel like going for both would be a little crazy, but they have said they want to spend. So
They
with
did
that young rotation
that's what
coming
I'm
up,
trying to take into account because you always have these teams that just go crazy, like the Met. Like I don't know. I'm trying to account just for like unpredictability here because MLB off seasons are not not predictable, especially one like this.
yeah.
I'll go with the Tigers. I'm gonna go back like through all this just to when we end just to finalize everything. I'll go with the Tigers. But I'm gonna change some things up because yeah.
Okay. This next one should be pretty easy. It's Freddie
I
Freeman.
do want to interrupt for a second. Just to
Yes.
say that Auburn is beating Alabama in the middle of the second quarter.
What's the score?
7-0.
Okay, so
It's the
very
middle of the
good.
second quarter though, so that offense is struggling. Bryce Young 5 for 14.
Well, we saw Ohio State on defense really get beat up today by Michigan.
Yes.
That was a tough loss for them. Just CJ Stroud and that offense was great. It's just that defense just couldn't get anything done at all. Couldn't stop the run. This next one, very easy for me. Freddie Freeman. He'll be a Brave for life. I have no hesitation with that. I don't even know. I mean, maybe he's talking to other teams, but like, come on now. He'll be with the Braves for life. They'll match whatever they have to retain him. I mean, that fan base would go livid if they lost him. So Freddie, back to the Braves. I think that's pretty easy.
Yeah. Just unfortunate, man. Just unfortunate.
Yeah.
Just unfortunate.
All right, this next name, I've seen reports that he expects to sign potentially tonight or tomorrow, Kevin Gausman for the Mets, the Mariners. I'm going to go with the New York Mets. I just think from what I've seen, their push for him really seems to be strong. It seems like they're really interested. He does seem to prefer the West Coast, so I think that puts the Mets at a slight disadvantage, but I think the Mets will end up getting it done. I think he's a guy they need for that rotation. And I'm excited to see, hopefully he'll pitch. He had a really good year, 2-point-something ERA, I believe. 2.81. I mean, very fantastic season for Kevin Gausman.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did fall off a ton in the second half, though. I'm gonna go with the Toronto Blue Jays here.
Whoa, that came out of nowhere.
I know, but they were talking to him a couple days ago. Did you see that?
Okay, I did not see that.
I'll send you. And I think they're gonna get him to replace Big RR.
Robby Ray, wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to just go unpredictable here. But of course the Mets will get him. That's also me being anti-Mets. Whatever. Yeah.
The next name, this one, he's been in the news a little bit recently. Marcus Strowman last night tweeted out that it seems like the Mets front, he wants to be, come back to the Mets, but it seems like the Mets front office prefers other guys. Marcus Strowman, I don't really know where he's going to end up. What do you think with this? I know it won't be the Yankees. He hates the New York Yankees. He's tweeted that many times. So it's not going to be the Yankees. So out of the other 29 teams, what do you think for Marcus Strowman?
I think I could see San Francisco. Maybe. I think Seattle also could be a good fit. I'll go with Seattle.
I think that's an interesting one. I think Strowman's an interesting one. I think it's too much money. If I already have him going to Gausman and the Mets, I just can't see the Mets devoting that much money. I think Strowman's going to go where the money is, to be honest. I think he's like that. I think he's a money guy.
Good for him. And get all the power to him. All power to him.
Yes. I don't think he's as championship driven as some of these other players, to be honest. I'm going to go with the team that I think will give him. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go for the Texas Rangers here. I think they're going to go out and give Marcus Strowman some money. That rotation is really not good. So I think at least gives them someone to look at for the future. I think Strowman's market's going to be kind of weird. So I think the Rangers, I think they want a position player, but I think they end up going out and getting Marcus Strowman. I don't know. I think it's a weird pick. I think they want to spend some money. So I got to give them someone. But I think the Mariners are definitely a team to watch for that, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we got 5 left. Nick Castellianos is the next name on the list. Very interesting power right fielder. And I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to go with the Miami Marlins. That's the team I've seen linked to him the most. It seemed like there's a lot of interest. And I feel like his market's very weird. Kind of a guy who's always been good. He is 30 years old. So it's going to be interesting to see. I've heard Miami linked to him a lot. I really don't know where he'll end up, but I'm gonna go with the Marlins. That's just what I've seen the most, and yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Marlins as well. He's from Florida, isn't he?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he is from Florida. So yeah, he's been linked a ton with the Marlins. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Marlins as well here.
Next name on the list, Carlos Rodon, the lefty. Obviously, a guy who really had a stellar season. Just had some injury problems, but I believe he pitched like a 2.2 ERA when healthy,
Yeah.
or something crazy. Yeah, 2.37. But just had some shoulder fatigue, arm soreness late in the year, which is not what you want to see. I'm gonna start on this one. I haven't given them any pitching, and I know they want a pitcher, so I'm gonna go with the Seattle Mariners on this one. I just feel like it could be a good piece for them. And kind of seems like he's not going to get necessarily as much as some of the other guys. From what I've heard on Gosman, they might be less in the price than the Mets. So I feel like Rodon could be that nice bounce back piece if they don't land Gosman or Strowman or a guy like that. So I'm going to go with the Mariners for him.
God, I really don't know. I really don't know.
Honestly, Philadelphia is a team that
I
feel like
know.
could make a
I
move
was gonna
on.
say the Phillies, but I already have them shelling out a ton of money, and I know they're not going to do it. And I know they're not going to do it because it's the Phillies. You gotta give me a second. I'm gonna go with the Chicago Cubs.
Oh, that's a good pick.
I'm gonna go with the Chicago
Oh,
Cubs.
yeah. I'm actually going to change my Marcus Stroman pick to the Chicago Cubs. That's what I'm
Okay.
going to do.
I'll go.
I've seen that link. Yeah, I've seen that linked a lot with Strowman, actually, and that's just a team I forgot wants to kind of add a piece to the rotation. So I'm going to change Strowman. He'll be on my Cubs.
I'm sticking with Rodon to the Cubs.
Next piece, Clayton Kershaw. Really can't see him not being a Dodger, but kind of a weird free agency. If they do already go out and get Scherzer, I mean, that's a lot of money for that rotation. I don't know if they have Walker Buehler locked up yet. I don't know. They must at this point, I feel like, though. Clayton Kershaw. What do you think?
I think he's gonna stay. I think Andrew Freeman said he wanted him back, didn't he? And I know Jim say that stuff all the time. I just can't picture him anywhere but Los Angeles, and I think it's a similar thing. I think the fans love him too much to ever. I think ownership in the front office will never let him go anywhere else. And as we've seen in the past, I don't think money is their biggest concern, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
I'm going to go bold with this one. I just took a picture away from them. I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers. He lives extremely close to that area. So I think that's kind of a desirable location for him to be. I think if the Dodgers re-up Scherzer, I just think that's way too much money to that starting rotation. They've got a bunch of good guys already. They've got some young guys. I mean, I don't know. I don't see him leaving, but I just feel like from what I've heard, it just doesn't seem like it. I feel like there's a chance he leaves. So I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers. I think that's a good pick. So yeah, I'm going to go with them. The next name on the list, Michael Conforto. We got two more names. Conforto, obviously, very bad year. Not sure what kind of contract he's going to end up getting. Scott Boras client. So probably going to take a while with him, to be honest. His Mets days are confidently, I can say now, over. With the signings of Marta and Cano. So what do you see for Michael Conforto?
There are a lot of Phillies fans that were interested in him. I don't want him at all. I think that's just because he's kind of a Phillies killer and he's left to start a reputation. Phillies. I don't know. What do you think, Griff? What do you think?
This one's a bit tough. I mean, thinking of teams that look like they might want to spend. I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Brewers for Michael Conforto. I believe Avisail Garcia is a free agent, so it opens up a spot in the outfield. I believe that's where he's been playing. If I'm not, that's wrong. I don't know. I feel like the Brewers maybe will buy low on him. They just lost Edwardo Escobar to the Mets, obviously, so they need a little lineup insurance, a little lefty bat in there. I don't know. It's either that or the Rangers.
I'll go with the Brewers too. I feel
like the Brewers always kind of make one pretty good signing for a decent bit each offseason. So
yeah,
I could see that being them. And then last player on the list that we have, there's some guys we're missing, but we can't get to everyone, obviously. Kyle Schwarber. I really have no idea where he's going to end up. I feel like it's going to be a rogue AL team, though. What are you thinking with Schwarber?
He'd be such a good. I'm saying this about some players. So he would be such a good fit in Philly. I think he could just club 50 dingers a season over that short right field wall, but he won't ever come here. He'll go somewhere in the AL, but I don't know. Oh, Jesus. I'll say he goes back to Boston, which I think is kind of a bold prediction, but I think he's going to go back to Boston. I think he probably enjoyed his role there. I think he was pretty successful in it, so I'll say back to Boston for Schwarber.
I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays. It's a weird one, but Wander Franco's contract, they obviously just signed that, but his first few years are very small in money, so they're not really constrained right away. I think the Rays, Schwarber's just that power bat that I could just see them putting in their lineup and just having him carry out that middle of the order. Kind of a bold prediction. I don't know, but I'm going to go with it. Tampa Bay. I just feel like it's a weirdly good fit for Schwarber. So, yeah. And you have to still predict Chris Bryant, obviously. You said you'd come back to that. So what are you thinking with Chris Bryant?
Gotta give me like 2 minutes here. Let me think. Did you say the Red Sox?
I did say the Red Sox.
All right. I'm going to go with the Red Sox too here because I was between the Phillies and the Red Sox in my initial decision. And
so you think the Red Sox get Bryant and Schwarber?
Oh, that's right. I did just say that, didn't I? God damn it. God damn it. This is tough.
Just go with the Phillies.
All right, I'll go with the Phillies. Phillies spending big this offseason.
They need a left fielder, to be honest, I think, right? They need a left fielder.
They need a center. They need a center fielder, too.
Yeah. So Bryant works for them. I don't think that's a terrible thing. All right, so just to recap, and then we're going to move on to the NFL. We both have Carlos Correa going to the Tigers. We both have Cory Seeger going to the Yankees. Chris Bryant, you have to the Phillies. I have to the Red Sox. Max Scherzer, both have to the Dodgers. Trevor Story, we both have to the Phillies. Marta Griffin, you have to the Yankees. I have the Blue Jays. Robby Ray, each the Angels. You have bias to the Tigers. I have him to the Mets. Freddie Freeman of the Braves for both of us. Gosman of the Blue Jays for you. Mets for me. Strowman of the Mariners for you. Cubs for me. We both have Castellianos to Miami. You have Rodon to the Cubs. I have Rodon to the Mariners. You have Kershaw Dodgers. I have Kershaw Rangers. Both Conforto Brewers and both Schwarber. Or no, you have Schwarber Red Sox. I have Schwarber Rays. So that's 16 names right there. I'm sure once this lockout occurs, we'll kind of go through some more, maybe really try and get like 30 or so names closer to that for our predictions in total. But I believe that's 16 or so. So we'll see who ends up doing better this offseason. And I assume on next week's episode, we're going to have a lot to talk about. It really seems like we're going to see a lot of free agents sign in this next week or so. So I'd expect next week to see a lot of MLB discussion on some of these players. But moving on, we're going to talk about the NFL. That's what we do the most here. And good week of Thanksgiving football. The outrageous, the Philadelphia Eagles, Rob, they're right in it all of a sudden. We were talking, we've got a lot to talk about because obviously you missed last week's episode. So we've got the Indianapolis
Colts
to talk about.
We had a little bit of a just miscommunication, I guess.
Yes, I think. Or was last week the power outage, or was that I forget what it was. But regardless, Rob's back this week, and we do have some stuff we need to talk about, though. And I think the first thing that we have to touch on is the Colts and the Bills. And my God, Jonathan Taylor. This guy is just an utter superstar. There was a point in the season where Eagles were looking like they were going to have 3 top 10 first-round picks. And all of a sudden, it's like they've got like nothing there. It's like so weird.
They still got like a top 8. They still got like a top 8 pick.
Miami will give them that. Yeah. But the Indianapolis Colts, this team is just rolling. This O-line is just playing so good. They really look like a playoff team, Rob, and they just mishandled the Buffalo Bills. It was just utter domination.
Yeah, the Bills suck. God damn it, the Bills suck. No, that's my very nuanced analysis. No, Josh Allen regression season has arrived. It really has. He has not looked like the same player this year at all. And a lot of people called it, maybe myself included, but No, I think the Bills, it's pretty crazy how like a month ago people were like the Bills are the unquestioned favorites in the AFC, and now they're like clinging on to that seventh playoff spot. I don't know. Yeah, the Colts are a good team, man. And we know they're coming for those. The Titans are banged up. AJ Brown going to injured reserve today. This could be the Colts division. Although that loss to the Titans from what was it, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, is really a killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the bug, Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, he's a stud. He's a stud. I mean, you can't even say anything else about the guy. That one touchdown run, it was for 40 or 50 yards, is unbelievable. Yeah, I think the Colts are a solid team. Would I pick them to do anything in the playoffs? Probably not. But I think this game says a lot more about the Bills than it does the Colts. I mean, they got blown out in their own on their own turf. Josh Allen, 2 interceptions, and he hasn't been good enough. He hasn't been good enough. And that defense also has been a massive letdown. With Tre'Davious White now out for the year, I mean, they won against the Saints, but the Saints are the Saints this year. But Tre'Davious White out for the year last night, they can be in some serious trouble. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Buffalo Bills they're just all right at this point. The New England Patriots, who Mid Jones, I mean, I was completely wrong on that. He has played excellent. The Patriots look fantastic, but yeah, there's some real warrant for concern in Buffalo right now. Like you said, Trey White. I mean, that's a huge injury. That's their backbone of that defense. That's their best player. So that's huge. But with the Indianapolis Colts, I mean, I'm going to give them a little more credit than you do. I think. I know you still have that Carson Wentz kind of hatred and whatnot, but I mean, with Jonathan Taylor and that O line, I think anything's possible. I think they can beat any team. I mean, it just doesn't seem like, and we're going to really see this week against Tampa Bay what the deal is. If they dominate Tampa Bay, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this team can beat anyone in the league because this rushing attack. I mean, and then you have the change of pace back with Nyheim Hines. I mean, it's just a tough team to beat. They've got good weapons at the wideouts, very good tight ends, underrated tight ends, Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox. I think this Colts team, to be honest, is for real. I think they are maybe not a Super Bowl contender, but I think they're a threat with that run attack. And I mean, you've got Darius Leonard. He's one of the best players in football at the moment. He's a stud. I know you're shaking your head. I don't know. I really believe in this rushing attack. I think Carson.
I'm not even disagreeing with anything you said. I think that offensive line is legit. I think that rushing attack is super legit. But I can't see them competing when their quarterback is Carson Wentz and the other guy's
He's
quarterback.
played good this year, though. He's been very good.
He has played like Alex Smith in his later years. I'll give him that. Alex Smith in his later years. Game manager o'clock. And listen, I'm not claiming Jalen Hurts has been anything more.
Okay, Jalen Hurts. There's some people saying he's the future. I guess we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But listen, I'm not gonna bet on a team whose quarterbacks are Carson Wentz versus Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and yes, even still Josh Allen. So and Justin, not to mention Justin Herbert. So yeah, I think the Colts are legit. Yeah, I think the Bills not winning the AFC East beginning of the year. If you had told me that was a possibility, I would not have taken you seriously.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, just going through, obviously, Titans, they're just so banged up. And I think they were just kind of a fraudulent team to begin with.
Yeah.
We don't really, I mean, we got what? I think there's really only like one of these games that we really have to discuss more. Maybe the Chiefs game too, but the Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, the New Orleans Saints suck. That's kind of definitive at this point. They're just so banged up. No Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara's out. The defense is aging. Jalen Hurts, I mean, what are your thoughts on this guy as an Eagles fan? I mean, the Eagles right now, they've got a shot at the playoffs.
I think it's a little
Dak Prescott.
Listen. They've got the easiest schedule in the NFL remaining. Griffin, do you know who they play their next 3 games?
I know they've got like the football team, the Giants, the Jets.
Yeah, they got the Giants, the Jets, and the football team at home. So I don't know. This could be an 8-6 football team in 3 weeks. I think this weekend is the real test for the Philadelphia Eagles going to play against the Giants in the Midlands. They're really banged up as well. Listen, I'm not ready to hand Jalen Hurts the reins yet because I think he has a long way to go to a passer, but he's a great leader and he is an unbelievable runner. And the Philadelphia Eagles rushing attack, there's really only one rushing attack in the entire league that even rivals the Colts' rushing attack, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles.
And a healthy Cleveland Browns, I have to put in there.
Yeah, but they really haven't been healthy.
Yeah, but
No.
when Chubb and Kareem are in there.
No, yeah. But this Philadelphia Eagles offense has had 200 yards rushing in 4 straight games,
Yes.
which is an unbelievable stat. Devontae Smith is really starting to emerge. But yeah, the New Orleans Saints are cooked. Trevor Simeon. If I was,
I don't even think it's worth our time to discuss the Saints.
I've talked about it before on this podcast, but I don't understand it. You're 5-2. You're going into the bye. You could have a quarterback get prepared over the bye, and instead you could sign like a Cam Newton or even try to coax Phillip Rivers out of retirement, which had been mentioned multiple times by a lot of people that he would be willing to come out of retirement. And they decided to roll with Trevor Simeon on a 5-2 team. And when they were healthy, I mean, this is a really good team. I mean, this defense has fallen apart the last couple of weeks, but you'd have to imagine that's because of the sort of lack of offense, and they're on the field so often. I just don't understand it from the New Orleans Saints. This is a team you have to remember they beaten the Bucs by like a lot, and they decided to fold on their season. I really don't understand it. I don't know what the Eagles are at this stage. They're much better than everybody thought they were going to be. That's for sure. I mean, people were saying this is the team that was going to have 1 or 2 wins this year and would be competing for the number 1 pick. I don't see them finishing the year with anything less than 9 wins. Nick Sirianni will get another year. My guess is Jalen Hurts is going to get another year unless Rodgers or Russell Wilson becomes available. As we know, Howie Roseman is infatuated with Russell Wilson. So that could be something that becomes available. But Philadelphia Eagles, I'm happy they're doing well. I think there's a crazy scenario that could happen, Griffin, which is that if the Cowboys lose 1 more game and they play the Cardinals and the Eagles beat the Giants twice, the football team twice, and the Jets up until their Cowboys game, that means it's a lot of ifs, of course, but that would mean that Week 18 would be the NFC East Championship game.
Yeah, I agree. Was just on Twitter checking. No news for the MLB at this point. You got to be checking. Oh, I just closed that. That's. Oy, let me pull that back up. I apologize. Close that on my computer. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles have really taken me by storm. I mean, I've been very surprised at how they've done. I think you're giving Jalen Hurts a little less credit than he deserves. I think Jalen Hurts has done a fantastic job this year with what he's given. I mean, those weapons outside. I mean, look. Well, first of all, they give Dallas Goedert way too much money. I mean, Dallas Goedert's agent just pulled a heist off. I mean, almost 15 million.
I agree for what it's worth. I agree.
Yeah, like that was bad. I don't know.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert's a fine. Listen. Dallas Goedert's a fine player, but really, that much money, I'm not so sure about all that.
Yeah, I think anyone would agree with that. I'm not saying that like you're disagreeing on any of that, but I think Jalen Hurts with what he's had. I mean, really outside of Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. I mean, look at these weapons that he's throwing to. I mean, it's just like, who are these people at this point? I mean, Jalen Reagor, just a total boss. Take Whiteside. It's just embarrassing. Quez Watkins. I mean, that sounds like a guy they picked up off like the community football team at like the local YMCA. But I mean, it's just crazy, the weapons, and he's done really well with what they've had. And that defense he showed up. We've seen what's his name, Darius Slay, another interception. He's playing great this year. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with the Eagles. I think this is, with their schedule, this is a team that should probably squeak into the playoffs. Will they do anything in the playoffs? Absolutely not. Like, they're probably going to get killed first round. No offense. I think you would probably it depends on the matchup, I guess. But
no, they're going to get bounced in the first round. But I think that's a pretty good result for what everybody, was expecting.
Yeah. In a year that you're supposedly rebuilding, it's absolutely a fantastic result. Now, the thing remains, luckily they do have the 3 first, so it's not as bad. But
yeah,
losing the value of the first round pick in a year where it is a very heavy positional player draft. We've seen Aiden Hutchinson, and he played fantastic today. I mean, him and Thibodeau, or I probably botched that, apologies, of Oregon. I mean, whoever gets one of those 2 players, those are dynamic edge rushers, and any team would be lucky to have them. So I mean, I think the New York Jets should be in on one of those guys, absolutely. Even though D-line I think they need an edge rusher, to be honest. Their edge is not good.
Any team can use an edge rusher.
Yeah, I mean, especially one of those caliber. I mean, we've seen the Lions will pick one for sure. I mean, this quarterback draft is so bad. This is
for God.
I don't even know
the Lions are bad, Griffin. Oh my God, the Lions are bad.
All right, so that I think we'll jump to Thanksgiving with that. No other games really from here that I mean, we'll talk about the Chiefs and the Chiefs. I mean, they're back, but down week on all.
Oh, wow,
I thought that was going to be the game of the year, and all of a sudden, not so much. Very low scoring, but
Griffin, you were clowning.
You jumped
You
the
were
ship.
clowning
You
me.
jumped off the ship. You jumped off the ship.
I
You
did
stick
because
with your
I was
prediction.
afraid of being clowned by you. But I should have had faith in Patrick Mahomes. I should have. I really should have.
Yeah. All right. Bears Lions. I mean, as funny as it is to discuss this, I don't even think we need to touch on the Bears. This was just one of those games. But the Detroit Lions, I mean, what has to happen for the Detroit Lions to get back to where they need to? I mean, to get back to a spot where they're at least winning football games.
I mean, what is this?
What can they do? Here, let me rephrase the question. What do you think they need to do next offseason? Because obviously, you're really not with Jared Goff there and that's all. You're really probably not going to take a quarterback first overall. You probably look for one in the second, third round with this quarterback draft class. I mean, what do you do in this offseason, really, if you're the Lions? What do you think are the steps this team's got to take in order to, inch closer to maybe winning 2 games next season?
They're just, I mean, how terrible is, was this the worst football game you've ever seen?
I think so. It was one of them, yes.
I'm sorry. I know Dan Campbell's a really likable guy, and I know it might be a little unfair to touch him. He's got to go, man. He's got to go. This is one of the worst coach teams I've ever seen, and that's not an exaggeration. Just not good all around. Just really not good all around from the Detroit Lions. And the Chicago Bears, get rid of Matt Nagy, man. This guy sucks. This guy sucks. He should have lost his job last year, and we're going to see an extremely talented young quarterback struggle because Chicago Bears ownership refuses to fire this guy. And I don't understand it. And this is just, I said to my dad when we were watching this game together, I said to him, has there ever been a game that got both coaches fired at the same time? I mean, this is incompetence on display. And Andy Dalton, the NFL should be embarrassed for airing Andy Dalton versus Jared Goff on Thanksgiving. And that's my main takeaway from this game. And what can the Lions do to get back to winning football? I think they need to fold and restart at this point. I mean, I feel bad for Detroit sports fans ever since 2004. I mean, you've got the worst team in the NBA, at least in the Eastern Conference. You've got a hockey team who's been terrible for a really long time now. I mean, you got a baseball team who, you can't even speak about them. This is terrible. I mean, this is absolutely awful for Detroit sports fans. And I feel bad for you, and I sympathize with you.
Yeah, I agree. Dan Campbell. I mean, we've just seen the game management. It's just horrible at this point. I mean, he's got no idea what he's doing. And I think it was always. I mean, what was he last year on the Saints? Like a coordinator, like some road position. It's like
it was very, and that's why bad organizations stay. That's why bad organizations stay bad though, because you're hiring. I don't even blame Dan Campbell because it's so clear that he's out of his depth and he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, you just hired an assistant tight ends coach. What are you doing?
I mean, it's like laughable how this guy even got an interview for a head coaching position with that role. Like, I mean, the Lions, I've laughed so many times watching Lions. I mean, I think maybe my favorite moment of the entire NFL season would be I was watching the Lions Steelers with my friends, and the kicker goes to kick the 40-yarder for the win. I think that may have actually been the worst kick I have ever seen in NFL history. I mean, how was that guy on the field kicking field goals? I mean, it never had the distance of even the crossbar and missed the direct. I mean, that was insane. Dan Campbell, this Lions team really could have like 5 wins with all these close games they're playing. But game management and Jared Goff at the quarterback is just the reason they're 0-10. I mean, this team could literally have 5 wins. Credit to these players. They are fighting hard. They're doing their best. But with Jared Goff at the quarterback position,
they really only had like 3 uncompetitive games this year. I think when they played like the Eagles, they got blown out. And then they've only had
the Browns like last week. They lost by 3. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I mean, let's look. Let's look right now.
Look, they should have beaten the Ravens. Well, we know they should have beaten the Ravens.
Week 1, that was a blowout. So let's.
Although they did have a shot to win it. They did have a shot to win.
But That was realistically a blowout. Ravens Lions, they should have won this game. Absolute crazy sorcery.
Yeah.
Lions Bears, yeah, they lost that one. Vikings Lions, believe that was a game winner. Bengals blew them out. Rams, they were winning that game for a while. Or were in it for a
They should
while.
have like 4 wins. This is
Eagles, they absolutely should. The fact that they did not win that Steelers game is disgusting. That is like one of the worst non-wins of all time.
one of the worst. You can't
All
even
right, we're
call it a
talking.
loss.
We're talking way too much. Like Raiders, Cowboys, this is just so weird. Cowboys are so banged up, and that defense seems to be a little bit fraudulent. I mean, good performance by the Raiders. They showed out.
This game was terrible. Was an eyesore to watch.
It was just officiating. Yeah. I mean, really, it's hard to talk about just because it was all officiating, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, 14 penalties aside, it was a disgusting game to watch. I mean, I'm really happy the Cowboys lost, to be honest, but because it opens a door for the rest of the division, not even the Eagles, but Washington as well.
Yeah.
But what a terrible game to watch. And like, I was talking to this with some family members over. I said, I don't understand why players will get benched or fined for poor performance or whatever for doing something that's bad. They need to start finding referees for calls that affect games that heavily, I think. So, yeah, there needs to be some sort of solution to reffing in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can't really touch. I mean, Dak played pretty well. This team, I mean, Zeke, it seems like he needs some rest. But
Dak had those 2 insane throws in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, he's a superstar, but without Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, it's really hard to grade the Cowboys and really grill them for this loss, especially with all that officiating. So we're going to move on to our predictions for the week. Bills Saints, I mean, that's not even worth it. I shouldn't even have said that saying that was a waste of time. So let's move on. Steelers Bengals, first game of the week. Such a weird game. I mean, both 5-4-1 for the Steelers, 6-4 for the Bengals. It feels like both of these teams are fraudulent.
Feels like every team is fraudulent in the AFC.
It's so weird. I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Bengals. They're coming off a bye. Oh no, they're not coming off a bye. They came off the bye last week, and they destroyed the Vegas Raiders though. So they looked good last week. Joe Burrow's played pretty well all season. That run attack, Joe Mixon's been pretty good, and the defense has showed up this year. They had some nice acquisitions in the offseason. Defense has played solid, and I just really think the Pittsburgh Steelers are bad. I'm going to be honest. I don't know how they've gotten this far to.
I think the Cincinnati Bengals are bad too. Is the issue?
Yeah,
like I think.
I mean, that offense is. I like their weapons on. They have good weapons on that offense.
That defense is questionable to me, though.
That's fair. Very fair.
They are playing Ben Roethlisberger though, so I'll go with the Bengals too. Home field advantage and Ben Roethlisberger. I think they might have a better chance. I think putting you and Ben at quarterback would probably be the same chance of victory. I mean, the defense is really good. I think like this is a team. This is one of those teams that I think with an elite quarterback, this is a team that could be competing for the AFC. I really do.
With that O-line, I don't think so. That O-line is really
but
bad.
Are you telling me, or if you're putting like an Aaron Rodgers on the Pittsburgh Steelers, that they're not competing for the conference?
I don't.
Griffin, that defense is very strong. It
is. It is very good. I think they'd be a solid competitor.
I think this might be a little bit of the Browns fan speaking in you.
I hate the Steelers. Yeah, I hate the Steelers.
I think Aaron Rodgers, but this is a team with, I think, there have been some links about him to the Steelers in the offseason, in past off seasons. But yeah, I'll go with the Bengals here. I think, yeah, they're at home, etc. Yeah, and then I'll leave this in the next game. I think I'm going to go with the Panthers here. I think the Panthers have found new life since I know they lost last weekend, but I think the Dolphins are terrible, and I think they have found new life since Cam Newton was in that team. I mean, what a disaster the Sam Darnold trade was. I mean, we've talked about it before. Just a complete disaster. I mean, I can't even think of another word. I'm gonna go with the Panthers here. I'm rooting very heavily against the Dolphins, who have all of a sudden they're beating good football teams and playing good football. But I'll go with the Panthers here.
This one I'm kind of torn on. I feel like it's kind of a 50-50. The Dolphins have played well recently. That defense has started to step up a little bit. But I agree with you. I'm going to go with the Panthers. I know they lost last week, but Cam has definitely re-energized that team, that offense. And like you said, the Sam Darnold trade. I mean, we don't really give the Jets front office enough credit. I know they've missed on some of their picks. But I mean, some of these trades, the Jamal Adams trade and now the Sam Darnold trade, just absolute heists they've committed. I mean, those have been highway robberies at that point. So very, props to them. And all of a sudden that Seattle pick looks fantastic for the New York Jets. I mean, that's looking like a top 10 pick at the moment.
Top
So all of a
five.
sudden, top 5. I mean, the New York Jets may have 2 top 5 picks, which in this draft class with those position players, very valuable. That's really what they need because they've got their quarterback. It's just kind of
They've got their quarterback, Mike White.
Mike White at this point. We'll see Zach Wilson return, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Panthers. Dolphins. I mean, it's Tua. He sucks. I'll go in the next game. I'm gonna go with the Philly Eagles. The Giants are just horrible. I know they fired Jason Garrett this week, but just a god awful football team. Daniel Jones. I mean, if they don't move on from him in the offseason, something's wrong. I mean, this team needs a total rebuild. If I'm being honest, though, I just don't see one avenue in this team where you can say they're set up for the future at a young spot. Saquon Barkley's going to be due for an extension, and he's not been great. That wide receiver, I mean, that Kenny Galladay signing,
Are they gonna
probably the worst deal of the
They
offseason.
can't pay him, can they? They can't pay him.
No, they just can't.
And this is why this is a case study. If I can pick it up from here. I mean, we know Saquon is a great, outstanding, unbelievable, game-changing player when he's healthy, but running backs, man, it's really, really, really hard to rely on their longevity. And that's why you really don't see running backs being picked that high anymore. A lot of the best running backs are usually picked in that 30s to 50s spot, and most teams are pretty comfortable with keeping it that way, because they quarterback and line positions. It's the name of the game. It's more important. Those individual players are more important, and they're less injury prone. And I think a lot of that, unfortunately, as weird as it sounds, a lot of their disasters sort of point back to that. I mean, some of the players they passed up on in that draft, Griffin, the names are pretty insane. But yeah, Daniel Jones. They also picked the 3rd round QB at 6. I think that's another big issue with the franchise. They got to get rid of Dave Gettleman. This guy isn't serious. He's not a serious general manager. And Joe Judge is just a disgusting football coach. He plays
another one of those guys that it's just like, how did he end up? I mean, it's just like any Bill Belichick coach. It seems like they'll just hire.
Does he not play one of the most disgusting brands of football you've ever seen in your entire life? I mean, it's funny how his teams are also like consistently super undisciplined, even though he's like this disciplined guy. Like, shut up, Joe Judge. I can't stand the New York Giants. I don't know if you remember this because you're not an Eagles or a Giants fan, but the Giants were really unhappy after the Eagles basically threw the game.
We had a whole on OTA clips. There was a whole, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a whole, we had a Eagles fan, a Giants fan, and the Washington football team fan all on. Really? It was chaos. Yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch it, but yeah. By the way, the Eagles don't end up with that Miami first rounder or Devontae Smith if they don't take that game. So I'd say it was a pretty good move for the future of the franchise. Also, I'm not really like these Giants fans and the Giants players are like begging to get into the playoffs at 6-10. You won 6 games. And I voiced that, like, you won 6 goddamn games. And you're complaining. I don't get it. I'm going with
I do want to touch it. Yeah, I know you're going with the Eagles. Yeah.
Go ahead. By 24. Keep going.
I mean, yeah. So what I was kind of saying before you took over was this. I mean, you look at the New York Giants and how dysfunctional. I mean, Kenny Galladay, what are you doing giving Kenny Galladay $70 million? And he's not even seeing the ball. Like, I mean, it's like you pick a first round. Kadarius Toney, I mean, look, he seems like maybe the most injury-prone player on that team.
But
he's been,
listen.
He's been explosive when healthy. Yes, but he's never healthy.
Except his quarterback is Daniel Jones.
Yes.
And as long as Daniel Jones, I'm not worried.
The Kenny Galladay signing, horrible. The defense, I mean, Bradbury's been this year, but like, I don't even look at a player on that defense and I'm like, that's a generational talent. Like, there's no one. Leonard Williams. I really can't say, but like, from what I've seen, I expect that he's declined I haven't heard anything about him. I mean, they gave him the bag. I mean, it's just poor decision-making. We're spending a lot of time on this, but Eagles for both of us and the New York Football Giants. I mean, just a horribly run franchise at the moment. I mean, I literally think they need to tear down every single player and just completely restart. I think that's only there's no positions or groups on that team where you can say, yeah, that's a unit that we need to build. There's nothing. The D line's the O line sucks. The receivers, I mean, they're mediocre, and that's where they've put a lot of money. I mean, it's crazy.
They've been bad for so long too. It's crazy. Picking Andrew Thomas, who's a really good player. By no means am I saying that he's not good, but he doesn't compare to like the Mekhi Becton who's been hurt, but he doesn't compare to like the Mekhi Bectons or like the
Tristan Wirfs.
Even
Jedrick Wills is better, I'd say.
Those three guys I think are generational talent in the tackle position. Andrew Thomas is just a really good player. I mean, their talent evaluation is so fucking bad. And I'm sorry for cursing, but it's so bad. I mean,
yeah. All right, let's move on from the Giants. This next game, I think, is a lock of the week for me. It's the New England Patriots. This should honestly be an easy victory. The Tennessee Titans, I think, are going to implode quickly. I think we might see the Colts overtake them in this division, like you mentioned earlier. New England, a very good defense. Matt Judon, great player, absolutely superstar. He's been the key for that defense. And Mac Jones, yeah, I've criticized him, but he's really made some great throws. He beat up on my Browns a few weeks ago. This kid's legit. He's a superstar in the making, to be honest. New England's really good, man. I'm going to pick the Pats.
Yeah, I'll go with the Pats too. You know, I've been a Pats believer. I picked them last week. Again, I picked against you last week, and I picked them, or 2 weeks ago, and I picked them. And I think this is a really good football team. I think this is another team that really could win the Super Bowl this year. I think this defense is outstanding, and that offensive line, man, is probably, I think, the best in the NFL right now, or if not the best, one of the best. You know, you still have the likes like the Cleveland Browns. I know they've been banged up, obviously Jack Conklin, but you know, the Colts offensive line is really good. But the Patriots,
I think that's the top three. Browns, Colts, Titans, or not Patriots. Browns, Colts, Patriots. That's a.
But yeah, this Patriots team is outstanding. I think Mac Jones has been really good, but I think his success is almost like a little bit predictable. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people were like, oh yeah, like he's the most pro-ready quarterback, and he's going to go step into a situation that's going to put him in a position to succeed. And listen, Bill Belichick, he's a defensive mastermind. I mean, this defense is elite. Once again, they have so many guys, and as you said, anchored by Matt Judon, who has turned into a superstar in New England. And I think this is really a team that could win literally every single game for the rest of the year that they're playing. They're on a roll. They play. Talk about a team that doesn't play its cohesive unit. This is a team that plays as a cohesive unit. They play really good complementary football, as Bill Belichick-led teams always do. And I'm going to pick them this weekend over the Titans, who I think are on a downward spiral, especially they're without their top 3 skill possession players. So, yeah.
Yeah. This next game, Falcons, Jaguars. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one. I think the Atlanta Falcons are so bad. I mean, this team is just, talk about another team that's really in a weird spot with their rebuild. I mean, you pick a first-round tight end. I get he's a generational talent, but I mean, you don't have a quarterback. The quarterback class sucks this year. Matt Ryan, he's washed at this point. Calvin Ridley, your best receiver. We don't know when he's going to come back. All the best to him, obviously. And the defense, they don't really have any young superstars. Jacksonville, I mean, it's been a circus down there this year as well, but I feel like this is at home, just a game they can win. Trevor Lawrence, we'll be able to see him. I mean, this offense is really bad as well, but I think James Robinson's just the best player on both sides of the football. I think he'll have a big game. So give me the Jags on this one.
I'm going with the Falcons here. The Falcons have beat up on bad teams successfully this year. New York Giants on the road. I think they'll continue the trend here. I think you're giving a little – Matt's been bad the last 2 games, but I think you're giving a little too much hate to Matty Ice. I got to say, I think he was really good before.
He was bad.
He was bad. Listen. He's been really bad the last 2 weeks, but that Falcons offensive line, I mean, Jesus Christ, is that offensive line bad. And that defense, like you said, in a really weird spot with the rebuild. Matt Ryan's a guy who I think will go to one of the teams that's like looking for a consolation prize to Aaron Rodgers, I think. So like if Denver doesn't get him or like Pittsburgh doesn't get him, I could see him going there.
Yeah.
And I think the Falcons will start a new quarterback next year. Like you said, this is a rebuilding team, but I still think they're better than the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars have one good player, maybe. It's their quarterback. No, they have a few good players, but I think the coaching is bad, obviously. I'll go with the Falcons here.
What do you think? I know what you're gonna pick in this one, so yeah. Why don't you talk Bucks? Colts here?
I'm not even. Do I even need to say my pick out loud? The Colts will probably win though.
I'm gonna pick the Colts here.
No,
I am
I'm
gonna
going with
pick the Colts.
All right, I'm going with the Buccaneers. I'm going with the Buccaneers.
I know you're going with the Bucks. But I just can't pick against the Colts until Jonathan Taylor just has is stopped at this point. I mean, he is just on an absolute tear.
I think there's a little bit of a difference between the Buccaneers defensive lines though and some of the defensive lines he's been running through.
Buffalo Bills were one of the top defensive teams, going into that last week.
This is true, but so are the New Orleans Saints coming into that Eagles game, and I think they've been exposed a little bit.
Look, I'm going to go with the Colts here. I think this team, I mean, look, the Bucks have had some bad losses. They lost to the Saints. They played close games with bad teams. They lost to the football team. So the Bucks aren't perfect either. They're banged up. AB is out. They've got guys out. So I'm going to go with the Colts. I mean, look, I'm biased. I have Jonathan Taylor on my fantasy team, but I mean, that guy is just a superstar right now. 5 touchdowns last week. You just got to, I mean, this is a week where it's like mono v mono, best versus best. And I'm very excited to see what happens. I think this is one of the games you got to watch. Jonathan, I mean, he's just been on a roll, Rob. I mean, I just can't pick against him right now at this point. I just think, I mean, they're getting him more involved too. You're seeing him have 80+% of the snaps now, 20+ touches easily each game. So I think if this guy just gets going, I just don't think you can beat him. So I'm going to go with the Colts. I know it's bold here. The Bucks will probably end up winning this one, but I just think JT's unstoppable right now.
I think the Buccaneers are going to make Carson Wentz beat them, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it. And I think Tom Brady and that, God, I'm so tempted to pick the Colts here because this would be such a Buccaneers loss too. I'll go with the Buccaneers here for obvious reasons.
Well, if you pick the Colts, I was going to say the Colts are absolutely going to lose if you pick the Colts.
I'll go with the Buccaneers.
This next one, I feel very comfortable picking the New York Jets this week. Zach Wilson is back. I know Corey Davis is likely going to be out, but Elijah Moore's really looked good these recent weeks. Michael Carter, another guy who's out. But I just think the Texans suck. I'm going to be honest. This team is just dysfunctional. Weird spot with the rebuild. Obviously, their whole rebuild hinges on what happens with Deshaun Watson.
This is Why is this game even allowed to be played? I didn't know this game was happening this weekend. Can both teams lose?
A tie.
A tie, it's true.
Do you want to predict a tie?
Can I predict a tie?
I'll give you 5 points if it's a tie and you predict a tie.
Do I get a deduction though if it's not a tie?
I mean, you don't get the point. You don't get a deduction.
5 extra points if it's a tie?
Yeah, fine. You get.
I'll take a tie then. I'll take a tie. I think it's worth the risk.
Okay.
All right. I think both teams are equally as awful as one another. So, although I do think the Texans have a little bit of an advantage at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson's still young and has missed time. So, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Tyrod's a pretty solid bet. I mean, he's underrated and he's just kind of been in that spot. Yeah,
I agree.
Chargers, Broncos, Denver. I feel like there was something about Denver I wanted to say. I don't know. I'm going to pick the Chargers, though. I mean, Justin Herbert has just been so boomer bust. I mean, he's had games where he's looked like the best player in the league, and then he's had games where he's just mediocre. It's so weird. But I think the Chargers are just the better team. Austin Eckler had a huge week last week, 4 touchdowns. Denver is just so mid with Teddy Bridgewater is horrible. They do get Bradley Chubb back this week, though, which is a big plus. But Chargers O-line has also held up really well this year. So I'm going to go with the Chargers. But, Denver, just so mediocre. Another team that, I mean, with a good quarterback, Denver Broncos could be a serious threat.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think the Broncos...
I mean, one thing real quick they also give way too much money to Cortland Sutton. That was way too much money to Cortland Sutton.
I do agree. Although I think Cortland Sutton is really good, to be fair. I'll go with the Chargers here as well. I think the Broncos stink, to be honest with you. Their offense is terrible.
Is this the week Vic Fangio gets fired?
It should be. It should be the week Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio should have lost his job a while ago. I think that Cowboys victory bought him a little too much leniency. Yeah, Vic Fangio. Will you give me an extra point if Vic Fangio is going after this week?
Sure, I'll give you an extra point if Vic Fangio.
I'll go with the Chargers here. I'll go with the Chargers.
Okay. Vikings, 49ers. Sorry about that. I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think the Vikings have started to play better football.
This is a huge
Those
match.
receivers are just so good. It is. These teams both, I
Yeah.
believe, kind of on the sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, both 5. I mean, this is a huge matchup for both. The loser of this honestly might miss the
For
playoffs.
the
So this is
Eagles too.
huge.
It's a big matchup for the
Yeah,
Eagles.
for the Eagles too. Minnesota though, Kirk Cousins. I mean, a lot of people hate this guy, but he's played very well this year. Really has not turned the ball over. Credit to him. O-line's also played better. So I'm gonna go with the Vikings. I think the Vikings are just a better team. I don't know. Jimmy G, I mean, he made us eat our words that other week. Of course he did. I mean, that wasn't even it. Of course, when we said he was going to be bad, he goes out and almost throws perfect. But they had a very good win last week in their defense as well against, I believe it was Jacksonville. So whatever. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings.
Yeah, I agree with you actually. I'm going to go with the Vikings too, which means they're almost assuredly going to lose.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they have a huge advantage in the quarterback matchup. And Kirk Cousins has been balling this year, man, and no one wants to give the man his credit, but he's having a great year. And Justin Jefferson has been a beast these last stretch of games. He's been awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Vikings here. And stop with Jimmy G. I'm sorry. Stop with Jimmy G. God, I can't tell. He's just like he like represents like him and Andy Dalton just like represent this thing where it's like blocking like young quarterbacks' path to success.
Yeah. Literally. All right, Rams Packers. This is a great game. The two heavyweights at the NFC, arguably with the Bucks obviously being excluded. Aaron Rodgers is banged up. He's got that fractured toe that he revealed. Aaron Jones may or may not play. I honestly don't know if that makes a difference to me. I'm gonna pick the Rams. Did they have? I believe the Rams were on bye last week. They were. So this is going to be a more fresh team. Odell Beckham's going to be more used to this playbook. I think we'll see him more involved. Cooper Kupp, I think they'll readjust after that 49ers loss. That was a bad loss. So I think we'll see them readjust. I think the Rams will come out. Von Miller will be playing. He'll be healthy. I'm going to go with the Rams. I just think they're the better team. I've kind of never believed in the Packers this year. I've kind of been always I think they're a great team, but I just never believe they're Super Bowl contenders. And they've played great football this year, but I just think the Rams are better. But look, 7-3, they've lost some games as well. So it's gonna be a very good game. This is the game of the week. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Rams.
I'm gonna go with the Packers here. Lambeau Field, Ram. I think people are hyping up the Rams way too much. I'm sorry. Robert Woods is a huge loss for that offense.
Yeah.
Way more than people realize. I also have an interesting take about Cooper Kupp that's like kind of unrelated to this podcast, to what we're discussing right now. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna drop it on the pod live. Cooper Kupp, to me, like when you like watch him play, like he's not really a wide receiver. He's like an H-back or a tight end. Like watch him next week, Griffin. Watch him on Sunday, and tell me he plays like a wide receiver, because I really don't think he does. I think he plays way more like an H-back or a tight end. Like the way he lines up, the way he runs his routes, like everything. Like I think he's just like the skinny white dudes, and everybody classifies him as like Cole Beasley type. But I think he plays like a tight end. I really do, and he's so elite. By the way, that's not me dissing his game or anything. It's actually me complimenting his game. I think he's such an elite player. But yeah, sorry. Thank you for letting me go off my little tangent. I'm gonna go with the Packers this week. Lambeau Field at the end of November is my reasoning. So yeah.
This next game is a monumental game for the Cleveland Browns season against the Baltimore Ravens, a team that they just not seem to be able to beat these last few years, especially in Baltimore. I'm assuming you're going to pick the Ravens, so I'll let you go because I'm honestly unsure at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens here. I don't think the Cleveland Browns are that good anymore. You got me on the Browns train earlier in the season. I really thought they were going to compete for the AFC. I got to tell you, Griffin, I'm sorry. I've lost my faith in Baker Mayfield. I really have, and I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on Baker after this, because I know you're usually a pretty big Baker fan. But I'm going to go with the Ravens here. Like you said, the Browns have had like a ton of trouble stopping Lamar in the past, right? Like he's sort of
really bad.
He sort of owned them, hasn't he? I mean, so I think that trend's going to continue. I'm going to go with the Ravens here.
I'll answer your thing about Baker Mayfield. I mean, I think he's always been kind of a game manager and kind of a fit for what they need. And I think that they can't move on from him right now, especially with that quarterback class incoming and how bad that is and whatnot. I mean, if they want to move on from him after, I can understand that. But next year, he's going to be the quarterback. I mean, look, he's banged up as well this year. He's playing with injuries that most guys in the league wouldn't be playing with. So credit to him. He's really toughed it through, but I think at this point he needs to sit down and he's not playing at the level he needs to be playing at to be starting for this football team. I'd rather see Case Keenum in there and just see an all-out run approach, to be honest. I think that's what the Browns need to do anyway. They just need to run the ball. I mean, that is their strength. If you get Jack Conklin, Kareem Hunt back this week, I mean, you really just need to pound the run. I need points back in our head-to-head, and I also need the Cleveland Browns to win for my own sanity. So I'm going to pick the Cleveland Browns in this one for those two reasons. I think the Baltimore Ravens are probably going to win this game. If I was picking without points or any of that, I'd probably say the Ravens. But I'm going to go with the Browns. I think this run attack is really good, and I think getting Kareem Hunt back is going to help. I think it's just such a good. He's a good change of pace for Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb is just so elite. Everyone knows that. And I know we were talking about earlier how all those running backs are going in the 30s to 50s. You look at that. I mean, Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor, arguably two of the best pure rushers in the league right now, were second-round picks. I mean, that just shows running back is so expendable. I mean, we see Alvin Kamara. That guy wasn't picked for round 4, round 5, round 6. Yeah. I mean, it's just so easy to find talent. James Robinson undrafted. Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
There's just no reason to waste first-round picks. I mean, we saw Najee Harris. Obviously, he looks all right. But I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. I think they'll lose the game, but I need points, and I want the Browns to win. So kind of a bias type thing. But, I mean, I think they can win the game, though. I think it's just you got to milk the clock with Lamar. And I think the Ravens are banged up defensively still. They're banged up offensively all over the place. So this isn't an unpenetrable team. I think they were better when the Browns played them last year, to be honest. But the Browns also look worse right now. So it's tough. It's a tough one, but I'm going to pick Browns for the reasons I mentioned.
Yeah, I agree. I'll go into the next game. I'm going to pick the Seattle Seahawks and what might be a little bit of an upset. I know it's a little bit of my bias speaking, but I actually think the Seahawks are going to go in and get a W this weekend. But they really need it. I think Russell Wilson is going to will them to victory Monday night. Pete Carroll's job. I mean, this is going to sound like I'm talking about Vic Fangio here, but I think his job might be in danger a little bit. I think you might agree with that as well. But at the end of the season, I don't think they would never fire him mid-season, but I think they might move on at the end of the year, especially if Russ wants out. But I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. I think they know that they have to win this game, and I think this is just a classic Russell Wilson willing the Seahawks to victory when no one else will or can. Type of game and I think we've seen it before. I think this will be another one of those type of games.
I mean, I'll touch on the Pete Carroll. I'm going to go with Washington here, but I'm going to touch on the Pete Carroll. I mean, I don't think unless should be fired. I think the GM or whoever's constructing this roster should be fired because they've done a god-awful job. I mean, this roster construction is just, I mean, they've gotten away with it for a few years, but I mean, when this team was in its peak, that was the Legion of Boom. It was built on their defense, and you look at that defense now, and it's just, what is going on? I mean, it's just embarrassing, to be honest with you. Horrible roster construction. I mean, that O-line is god-awful. The D-line is god-awful. I mean, you trade for Jamal Adams. You trade your first-round picks for, blitzing safety. That makes no sense. I mean, it's just, I don't know. This team needs to trade Russell Wilson at the end of the offseason. Unfortunately, we've seen this year, they're just not in the spot to win anymore. It seems like they need to kind of rebuild. Russell Wilson will at least get you a lot of draft capital back. I mean, they'll be able to salvage their future by trading for Russell Wilson, which is huge. And I think that's why a team like the Eagles, I mean, if you could end up landing Jalen Hurts, a top 10 pick or something, I mean, I don't even know what it would take, but I'm sure it would take a king's ransom to get Russell Wilson. So you got to assume they'd get a guy like a Jalen Hurts who fits their scheme with what Russell's done, to be honest. Just not as talented as a passer, obviously, nowhere near. But you get a top 10 pick. I mean, I think the Eagles are really that perfect trade partner for Russell Wilson. I think it would be very interesting to see what happens this offseason. I honestly believe, I'm going to say this, it's a kind of a hot take, but the way Hurts and the Eagles have played this year, I think the Eagles are better off keeping their picks than trading the whole system for Russell Wilson. I know he's so dynamic, but the Eagles have a lot of holes they need to fix. And I mean, if the Eagles can go out and get imagine you put Garrett Wilson on the Eagles among like a bunch of other positions. I mean, Garrett Wilson, you just see today in the game. I mean, he is a superstar in the making at wide receiver. I mean, by Jackson Smith. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
insane.
Oh my God. You know his brother is in the Pittsburgh Pirates organization.
I saw that today. I saw
Yeah.
that. I saw a tweet from an account. Yeah. But we're getting completely sidetracked. I'm gonna go with the Washington football team, like for the reasons I mentioned. I mean, I think Seattle's just so bad on defense. They're just poorly built. They need a rebuild, and I think Washington's kind of rolling with a little bit of momentum right now. I believe they won last week against Carolina, so they're beating good teams. I mean, they played Carolina, looked pretty good with Cam, and obviously they beat the Bucs. So I think Washington's kind of find their groove. Obviously, the Chase Young injury sucks, but I think they've kind of found their stride. They're hitting their stride. They're starting to win games. So I think this is another game Monday night prime time. I like Washington here. I'll be honest. I think the Seahawks are just god awful. And Russell Wilson has also been terrible. I mean, that offense has been putrid these last few weeks. So I expect it to bounce back, but I think football team will win the game. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks, he's been carrying them for so goddamn long. It's absurd.
Yeah. I mean, ever since that defense has fallen apart, it's just been Russell Wilson, essentially. I mean, obviously, you look when the Legion of Boom was there, that was the Legion of Boom. Like, that was elite. That was one of the greatest units. You can look at that and say, arguably one of the top defensive units of all time, potentially. So, yeah, is what it is. But that will do it for this week's episode of Outside the Arena. Yeah, very. But that will do it for this week's episode of Outside the Arena. I appreciate you all for watching. It was a longer episode, but I think it was a very fun episode. We did some MLB free agency predictions, a lot of NFL in there. So I know we both enjoyed that. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate that. Go check us out. Follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify at Outside the Arena there. Go follow us on Instagram, our podcast at Outside the Arena Podcast on Instagram. That will all be in the description below. But yeah, with that, take it easy. Enjoy another Sunday of NFL football, and a lot of MLB free agency seems to be picking up. So enjoy that as well. And yeah, we'll see you next week on Outside the Arena.